and it let out this blood-curdling, guttural scream.
On the side of the road, he sees a deer carcass and something eating on it, which he thought was a bear. And as the lights hit it, it stood up. And, like, this gives me chills talking about it. He said it stood up and it had the face of a man.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. I'm your host, Bryan Sawyer, coming at you. This is episode 33, and today our guest is Natalie Smearman. Now, a little bit of backstory with Natalie. I met her on the NCI podcast show on the Channel 12 TV network. I'm on there every Tuesdays and Thursdays nights, and she's on there as well. And it's kind of a big group of us from around the country, paranormal investigators. We all get together and we just have a free for all. We talk about everything. And Natalie is really a kindred spirit. You know, she's all about people. And that's what I liked about her. This is really, like I say to so many of my eyewitnesses and people that I meet, it is really about the human connection to what's happening in the paranormal cryptid world. And Natalie is another fixture, is another staple in that whole big picture. A little bit of background about Natalie. She is a paranormal and Bigfoot investigator. She is a co-host on the Paranormal Among Us podcast show. She will be speaking in October 18th in Fort Myers, Florida, at the Charlie's Beyond Belief Expo. So check her out there if you want to see her in live. She works with Greg Olgos on Relic Films, and she will be appearing also with Enigma Films 911. Enigma 911. I think I got that straight. But let's go ahead and bring her in. So much to talk about. So excited to have her on. We're going to have another great episode. Natalie, are you there?
Hey, how you
What's going
doing?
on?
Oh, I'm having a great time here in Central Florida, having our coffee. We're having coffee together. That's awesome.
Yeah, and backstage you're saying we've had a real bit cool down here in Michigan to the
hmm
point of I've thought about turning on the heat. It's gotten down into the
Oh,
30s. Oh yeah,
oh
yeah,
my.
right around 40
Oh,
degrees. But it's the
yeah,
flip for you. You're down there in
total
Florida
flip.
and oh my.
Yeah, yeah. The low is 73. The high is in like the 90s.
Oh my
Still.
gosh. I've only been to Florida. No, I've been there twice and both
hmm
like in the winter and it was still hot then and I'm like, man, I don't know if I could live here in the summertime.
Oh, yeah. It's brutal. In fact, we've had Thanksgiving dinner out on the back patio in shorts and t-shirts. And in the summertime, you just stay inside. It's so hot.
Okay, okay. So you got the AC running all the
Yeah.
time. All right, Natalie, let's
Yeah.
jump into it. You know, we're
Yeah.
kindred spirits, but when it
Yes, we
comes
are.
down to it, I really don't know that much about you.
Well, let's get to
But
know each other.
that's right, man. So have at it. So what was it like when you got started? Why did you get started? You know,
Yeah.
my backstory is I've had the ghost encounters, even a cloak being following from me from home to home. I
Mhm.
had the big production deal with the devil when I was about to sign a
Mm.
record deal. And then I had the fairy encounter in my house. And
Wow.
yeah, and up to that point, I'm also an actor in the Detroit area. When Hollywood comes to town, I'm usually on set doing something. I've hung out with greats like John Hamm and all that.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been a pleasure doing what I'm doing. But that fairy encounter, the deal with the devil encounter and then my fairy encounter are what really changed my life and shaped the way I think in the aspect of me shutting up and listening to people and believing people what they have to say. Because, too, I also think that if somebody's going to lie to me, that's on them, not me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, prior to that fairy encounter, I'm not a guy who thinks about fairies. I got two boys. We don't sit around
Right.
watching Peter Pan. I always say
Right.
that. So when that fairy was right in front of my face, um,
Yeah.
it was freaky. And so getting into the Bigfoot whole subject and paranormal, cryptid, whatever, dogmen,
Mm-hmm.
I decided from that fairy encounter to not think I know everything, to really listen, to learn, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge paranormal cryptid world out there.
Enormous.
How,
Yeah.
yeah, so back on you, girl. How'd you get
Yeah.
started? What drew
Oh,
you into this? What happened in
yep.
your past? Whatever, go for it. It's all you.
Yeah. So I started seeing and having paranormal experiences when I was about 3 years old. Started at my grandparents' house, with my great grandmother who had passed away long before I was even born. She was like my guardian angel, but I could see her and talk to her. And then as the years went by, there was always, I could feel spirits. I could feel them. I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. And as time went on, whenever I was in a really bad place, the paranormal, mentally, physically, emotionally, the paranormal activity would increase. And there were times, one time when I was 13 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night and my great grandmother was standing at the foot of my bed, glowing white. And she had her little bun on the top of her head and her little dress on. And she's standing there, just has this beautiful smile about her and just disappeared. And I know that it was her because I had seen pictures of her. And I also, the next day, I called my grandmother. I'm like, can I see that picture again? And it was her watching over me like, girl, it's okay. We've got you. We've got you.
Wow.
You're not alone. And that, it made me feel at peace because I was going through such a horrific time.
Mm,
So things had gone on and just different experiences. I There was a period of time that I was in a very deep, deep depression, and I was starting to see like shadows or like an arm come around a corner, and I was like, What is that?" And then I would lay down at night and I would hear chanting, this deep guttural chanting. It was just horrific. And I grabbed my Bible, held it to my chest, and the chanting would stop.
mm,
And I learned I needed to cleanse the house. I needed to cleanse everything. I needed my space, myself. So I would sage. And then
yep.
finally, once I got mentally better and out of that depression, that never happened again.
Wow.
Yeah, and then wherever I have been, I've always had different things happen. Like my aunt and uncle's house in Milwaukee, I was staying there, and in the middle of the night, things would move in the bedroom. I would hear my name being whispered and called. It was just different random stuff, and it was like they almost, looking back now, it seemed like the spirits are like, oh, she can hear us. They
Mm,
would be, trying to reach out, and I never thought of it that way. I was terrified.
right.
So, fast forward a little bit to 10 years ago, I had gotten married, second marriage, and we moved into a house in Lake Mary, Florida. And he came with all of his boxes. I came with all of my boxes. And a lot of us we had been moving around separately. And then we're like, okay, we're going to open up all these boxes and get rid of them because it came from storage and we were going to throw away a lot of stuff. Well, I opened up a box and it was he's like, yeah, just go through it and figure it out. So I opened up a little box that was in there, and it was a little plastic bracelet. And it looked like something one of his kids had made. And I was like, oh, this is adorable. What is this? Well, he had 20 years in the Army, retired special forces. And he goes, oh, that's one of the souvenirs off my first kill. I said, you're still holding on to this? And it's in my house. You brought it into my house. He's like, yeah, I hold that close. We keep that. And I'm like, this can't happen. You've got to do something with this because and so I saged, I cleansed, I prayed, and then nothing happened. I was like, okay, I feel okay. About 3 months later, this shadow figure started to appear.
Mm.
And it was all around the master bedroom, master bath, and the guest bathroom right next to the garage where this box was being held. And I was
Whoa.
telling him, I'm like, dude, this is what, oh, it's fine. You're just seeing things. He just dismissed the whole thing.
Mm.
Well, I knew that was a losing battle. I wasn't going to win that. So I kept seeing this shadow figure creep out, look around, like look at me, creep back in. And it was small. It wasn't big. It was kind of small, low to the ground. And I'm like, okay, I saged and like the whole house was empty. I prayed and I said, listen, you don't want to be here. I don't want you here. But here are the rules of the house. I'm not, this is not negotiable. And I laid down the rules. And I'm like, you can hang out here and we can respect each other, but don't cross these lines. For a good 8 years, it didn't cross the line at
Mm.
all. It was like, okay, I'll peek out and I'll just see where you guys are. And that's all I'm going to do. So I'm like, okay, we're good. Never did anything else.
Wow.
Then the marriage started going into the toilet, the fighting,
Hmm.
the anger, hostility. And then the shadow dude started to grow a little bit,
Oh my.
feeding the
Wow.
energy, feeding the
Oh
negative
my
energy.
goodness.
So I'm laying in bed one night alone. My kids are upstairs. I wake up and the shadow dude is standing over me watching me sleep. I scream. My daughter comes running down. Are you okay? Are you okay? Oh my God. I said, and I'm just sitting up in bed and I am just white. And she's like, it's just a dream. I'm like, okay. So the next day, I'm like, I unleashed on the shadow dude. I'm saging, I'm praying. I'm like, you cross the line. Don't you ever cross the line again. If you ever cross the line again, I will drag you to the depths of hell myself. And it backed off.
Mm.
Well, the marriage kept getting worse. I moved upstairs bit with the kids, and my soon to be ex was downstairs living in the master bedroom. Meanwhile, still festering in this whole cesspool of negativity was Shadow Dude.
Mm.
Well, Shadow Dude never went upstairs. He stayed in this area. And so one night, my son was downstairs. He went in the guest bathroom, comes back out, and sees something out of the corner of his eye, and the shadow figure was inside the master bedroom growling at him. And I'm like, that's it. Now, that was one of the rules that you don't do. So I had the biggest come to Jesus meeting. I was like, that's it, you're done. So
Right.
right after that, we packed up and left for Thanksgiving. We left for a week, me and the kids. We come back a week later, walk in during the day, and I walk in last. I look, Shadow Dude is now taller than me, staring at
Oh.
me from the master bedroom. And I know better not to feed into it. And I said, is this how we're going to start this day out? And it just disappeared. And then, as soon as my ex moved out, took all of his belongings and left, Shadow Dude left. The air in that whole area lifted because you could just feel the negativity. It all lifted. Never had another issue with Shadow Dude. Now, with that said, the whole neighborhood that we were in had paranormal activity in every house. We believe it was built on unmarked graves of Seminole Indians because the
Oh
Seminole
my.
Indian tribe was in and around the Central Florida area. It is known that a lot of these houses were built on unmarked graves, and now we're all dealing with this. Now, it was nothing of that nature was negative. They would play little games like knock or
Right.
move something. It was never negative. We were like, it's fine. and we would all report back the same thing. They're like, oh, we had a vase move, or we had this move. But I think the best stories I have are from going out and exploring in the Smoky Mountains, and going into Cades Cove, and going out doing night investigations. And we were actually going squatching. We wanted to look for Bigfoot. What we came back with was all paranormal activity. There
Whoa.
were orbs. We saw orbs every night. We
Wow.
heard disembodied voices. I thought I was standing there, and of course it's pitch black. We don't have any lights on. We're only seeing by what little light there is from the moon. And we're like, we're kind of spread out, like within a few feet of each other, but spread out enough. Well, Greg likes to play jokes. He likes to, have fun. Well, I thought he had snuck up behind me and whispered behind my head. I said, oh, you're funny. And he's standing down there, and there's nobody behind me. And it was almost like, I couldn't understand what they said, but it was a voice right
Mm.
behind me. And I was
Ah,
feeling spirits all around, like this heavy, heavy energy.
okay.
And it was really like, okay, I can feel you. I can't see you, but I can feel you and now hear you, which was pretty cool at the time because, I wanted to go out and see something, wasn't expecting that. And
Right.
the orbs, I have never seen orbs before. And when I saw them every night, and they were different colors, it was almost like the red and the orange ones were like the protectors. They're like, we're on the watch out, we're on the lookout, because they were on each side of us on the path. In
Wow.
front of us were like, it was a real light blue, silver, and green. And
Wow.
they were like dancing and moving around and coming in closer and backing up. And we started doing these experiments, which every time that we would laugh, they would come closer to us. And if we were quiet, they would move away like, oh, we're bored. So we were like, okay,
Wow.
let's start singing, let's start dancing, let's do different things. And they were coming in closer, like, okay, you're entertaining. That's really cool. And there was some sort of intelligence behind it. Whether
Well,
they were, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm so sorry. You got me so excited. Let's get back to this because I've heard of Bigfoot turning into orbs and then
Hmm.
back again. So keep that in
Correct.
mind. But I gotta you know,
Absolutely.
I can let you talk for now, but I gotta interrupt because I want to go back to
Yeah.
your shadow dude.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so
Shadow Dude.
I,
Let's talk about him.
I didn't have it as extensively as you had it, but I picked up a shadow dude, a cloaked figure,
Hmm.
in Port Huron, Michigan. I moved into my brother was a landlord and he had a multi-story old house, and I moved into that. And it didn't take long to where I laid down in the bed one night and I was totally awake. And then all of a sudden, in comes a shadow dude, comes walking and jumps on me.
Oh, my word.
Oh, yeah. And I'm literally like flailing in the bed, like, what the heck was that? So then I
Oh,
go,
my God.
me being a Christian, I'm like, God, what the
Hmm.
heck is going on here?
Right.
Um, so I'm like, Lord, that's not supposed to happen. I said the prayer, give your angels charge over me, protect me, all that kind of stuff. The very
Hmm.
next night, same thing. In comes Shadow Dude again. But this time, all of a sudden, a circle of what I would probably call angels appeared around this dude, a circle of them, and they dove on him and gone.
Good.
So
Good.
then, so then, I move out of that house and I build my own house.
Hmm.
You can attribute it that kind of stuff to, okay, well, I'm in an old neighborhood. This is a
Hmm.
really old house. Who knows what kind of history this is? Blah blah blah. So Anyway, I build my own house, new construction house. I'm the only
Yeah.
guy, first guy living in it. Got my two boys. Um, and here he comes again. Comes in my bedroom, comes around the bed, and hits me in the chest. And
Oh.
Natalie, I feel it. I feel it.
Oh my God.
But when he does that, well, what's curious about it is he's booking in this time. He's not just walking in, but he's coming in quickly this time. And there is a white figure behind him as well. He hits me, and the white figure tackles him, and they disappear. So
Wow.
by this point, I'm a little more laid back, and I'm like, what the heck was that? I'm like, holy
That's
crap.
insane.
Well,
It
like
followed you.
you, yes, like you, yes. So it followed me from one house to to another.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in a new construction house. There's no excuses. Um, but then it gets worse. My boy, one of my boys
Oh.
starts seeing it, and it's
Mm-mm.
harassing him, even to the point of my son drawing a picture of it. And I think I got that. I got to find that picture. I think that picture still might be somewhere. Um, and it was really bad because he's like, Dad, it was standing in the driveway looking at me through the window as well. So like
Oh
you,
my
I'm like,
God.
all
Mm-hmm.
right, that's it. Come to Jesus moment. I don't know who you
Mm-hmm.
think you are, but in the name of Jesus, and then got the olive oil out and blessed it, anointed all my, I believe in the personal authority with Jesus Christ as well. And I just anointed all the doorways, even the windows, everything. And I've
Mm-hmm.
never seen that entity since. Now, bringing in
Good.
your shadow dude,
Yeah.
let's dig into this a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Um, the hierarchy. This thing was docile. Maybe it was connected to your ex because that was his only route in or to
Mm-hmm.
have a foothold. But then, as you could say, the animosity grew, so he fed off of it. Would that
Yes.
be your assertion?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the item was taken off of his first kill, meaning it was done in Afghanistan.
Oh,
And so this entity, this spirit attached, like, because it was something of a religious value. This is
mm,
something that they held dear to them, and they felt, how dare you? You kill me. I'm holding on to that. And so that's what festered. It's a haunted object.
yeah,
And now you have this thing attached, probably doesn't even know what to do or how to even let it go now because it was
right.
years after. And now it's like, what do I do? And so
Hmm.
it was just, and I think because I was really stern and laid down the law, and I was like, listen, this is what I'm going to do to you if you do this. And
Right.
it was like, okay, all right, you know.
So
And I mean,
it, I mean, it fed off of the negative energy, but it
mhm,
respected your authority.
yeah.
Here's the scary part, Natalie, and this is
Mhm.
just my opinion, and I could be wrong, but in my opinion, the next step might have been what? Possession
Oh,
of maybe your
absolutely.
ex?
I'm gonna tell you right now. So Tracy, our Tracy on Channel
Hmm.
12 TV network,
Tracy Lynn, the
um,
White Witch?
yes, she said something the other day, and I went cold. She said that they went to an investigation, and she had an entity take over, and
Mm,
her husband witnessed it. He said that her face distorted, her personality changed, and it was just not her. Now she's saying that she's had this happen before. She was able to control it. She was having an out of body, like looking like, okay, this is what's happening. He got nervous, pulled out a medallion, put it
mm.
on her, and she fell to the floor to release it. My ex, I witnessed his personality change like that, his face distort and become aggressive and angry.
Wow.
And I'm going,
Mm,
and I thought PTSD. He was having
Hmm.
issues from
Sure.
combat, 20 years in the military. She said that the other night, and I'm going, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times he did that. His whole
Wow.
face would distort, and he would
Mm.
be just angry and in my face over nothing. And I'm going, and then a day or two later, he wouldn't even remember that it happened.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so now it was
Yeah.
last week. It was last week. Sometimes, not to get too weird, but sometimes I have whatever you want to call them, spiritual connections. And so
Mhm.
last week, I would call it a God spirit, started to speak to me about the hierarchy of these dark forces. So now this is kind of coming together. It's like this was meant to be. You're helping me out. You're helping me solidify some of my thinking. I've got it in three. This just all came to me.
Mhm.
It starts off as observing, right?
Mhm.
Then the second step, it starts to um influence you. So they
Yeah.
observe you to where you can see them. Then they start influencing, maybe when you don't know it, through anger and emotions.
Mhm.
And then the worst step is possession. So
Yes.
observing, influencing, and then possessing.
Correct.
Possessing.
And it was
Fantastic.
something to see. And I mean, I was terrified. Terrified. I'm like, what is happening? And then when Tracy said that last week, I'm going, I just went cold. I'm like, I've witnessed that.
Yeah, yeah.
Firsthand, I've witnessed that. And I didn't put two and two together by no
Right,
means
right, right.
until she said that. But Shadow Dude never tried to do that with me or the kids.
Right.
It
Because
was just like,
you kept him at bay. You had that
yeah,
authority. You wouldn't accept it. You wouldn't invite him in. And then I think there's other entities. There's all sorts of different levels in the hierarchy.
hmm, oh yeah,
There's smaller entities that don't have the ability to maybe influence you or possess you. They just might show
correct.
themselves from here and there. So I think
Yeah, yeah,
there's a hierarchy there of the most powerful ones and then down the ranks. So, okay, good
correct.
stuff. You're helping me
Yeah,
button something up that I've been thinking about for a week or two.
yeah.
So now back to the orbs. Back to the
The
orbs.
orbs, yes, the orbs. That was so interesting because we stopped. I had this overwhelming feeling of there was something there. There was something watching me. There was something right there. I had everybody stop and I'm like, I'm feeling this. And so I walked a little further, feeling went away, came back, feeling was still there. So there was something right there. And then all of a sudden, the orbs started. So we had red and orange orbs at each end of the path, almost like watching us. Like we're going to be at one end and we're going to be at the other, just watching. In front of us were the like real light blue orbs, almost silvery blue, and green orbs, and then silver ones, actual silver ones, and they were all around. And when we would talk and laugh and interact, they would come in closer. The red and orange ones stayed away. They were still exactly where they were. And so we were just talking and having, just doing that. And then about 15 minutes later, they just disappeared.
Wow.
Yes. And so it was so interesting. And then this was going on where we would see these orbs in different spots every night.
Oh,
And
oh,
then
oh.
so there was one time during the day, I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye. So I pulled out my therm. I'm like, is that like a little rodent, whatever? And I'm like, I'm looking, and there's something on the ground, like going like this, just on the ground. And I'm like, and I said, listen, I'm just going to watch this just to see what it is. And for a good minute, it's just, boop, 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 boop on the ground, just doing whatever. And then all of a sudden it went boop, 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 and just floated off.
Oh.
And I'm going, and I can't see it with my naked eye. I can only see it with a therm. And then it reappeared right in front of me. So there was a bush, and it was like in the bush, like looking, like peeking out behind, and then it just disappeared. It was
Wow.
the coolest thing.
Notice,
Coolest.
I always bring up the Mothman is it Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere? Um, where in it the professor says you notice them and they notice that you notice them.
Mhm.
So that sounds like you're watching it and
Yeah.
then it noticed that you were
Like,
watching
oh,
it
yeah.
and
Like,
got
I'm gonna
close.
go away. Yeah, and like I'm gonna check you out. And they'll come within like 4 or 5 feet of
What do you
right
think
in
it
front
was?
of
Was
you.
it an orb? Was that an orb or was it something else like a fairy or
No, I saw an orb. And also keep in mind, this is in late winter.
okay.
So it's cold. There's no bugs. There's no lightning bugs or fireflies or whatever you want to call them. There was nothing out because it was so cold. We're in heavy coats. And I'm thinking to myself, this can't be a bug or anything. And I'm trying to like rationalize in my head, like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? And I'm looking, and I'm like at the group, and they're all like, yeah, we see this too. I can't believe this. And we're in awe. We're in awe because to
Wow.
see orbs one time, it's like you won the lottery. To see
Mm.
them multiple times in a week, I I was like, at the end of that week, I'm like, I'm good. I could die right now, completely fulfilled. I'm like, this is it. I mean, this was phenomenal, and it was
Yeah,
such a cool experience.
and I wonder what that I hate it because I might maybe dwell on things too much, but man, I want to know what orbs are. Um,
Mhm.
yes,
Oh,
I've heard of the stories,
absolutely.
like I said, about Sasquatch turning into orbs and then back. I've heard three or
Yeah,
four stories like that. But
yeah,
then I'm like, okay, well, if there's different colors, then those are different entities. And then what are these things all about? Did
yeah,
you went into their area, so then they began to watch you. And as
yeah.
you danced and had fun, then they moved in. They're very engaging. That's
Very
cool.
engaging. Yeah,
That is totally cool to me.
yeah. So they were engaging, meaning that there was intelligence behind whatever these orbs are, or something intelligent controlling it. So
Yeah.
we were really just enthralled. But as to your point, you hear about these reports about, orbs turning into Bigfoot and Bigfoot turning into orbs. And also we have heard reports with other cryptids turning into orbs and moving around
Yeah.
and able to control their energy, which is really amazing and cool. But we also experienced some metal knockings
Okay.
in the woods. So we heard, and we were out far, and we heard metal on metal, and there's nothing metal out there. We're in the
Wow.
middle of nowhere.
I've heard about those metal sounds, whether they be portals opening up. I mean, there's a lot of theories out there, but
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So we heard it
Too.
once, and I'm like, when I hear something once, I'm like, okay, it could be a fluke. It could be somebody out there. But then it happened again closer, and then it came closer again and happened again. And then that's when the orbs showed up
Whoa. See, too, I
again.
wonder. I wonder out by me. Well, I've got a couple of Sasquatch clans near me, and the one collects human objects.
Oh.
Oh yeah, they will take. Um, I now call it the Garden of Eden.
Mhm.
What I'm allowed to say, it's a private location, and the people don't want people to know who they are, but it's
That's
it's on the
fair
shores
to
of
protect
Lake
him.
Huron, and
Mhm.
they will regularly miss shovels or any kind of garden instruments or the landscape lights. Those will get taken, and
Yeah.
they'll find where they're at. Kept
Yeah,
by the
it's like
Sasquatch there.
little treasures.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
So yeah, it's really cool things. But yeah, to your point, I've heard of so many people hearing these metal sounds in and around the Appalachian Mountains and Smoky Mountains. Multiple reports, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, multiple reports of this in that area. And a lot of people are saying those are portals opening and
Yep.
closing. And I'm like, that's amazing because you hear about Bigfoot, you hear,
Hmm.
see, oh, I saw tracks. And all of a sudden they just stop. Well, where'd they go? They could have kept
Yep.
walking and there's nothing. What happened to them? Well, did they
Yep.
go into a portal? Did they all of a sudden just, you've heard about cloaking and things of that nature. They have a lot of abilities, and we all know that the U.S. government is already looking into it. For instance, I went squatching in the Ocala National Forest a couple months ago. Got to a patch of land. There was an Indian mound, Indian burial mound. There was a river polluted with alligators. It was about
Oof.
1:30 at night, and across the river was government owned land. Why? Don't know. But there is government owned land south of there that is they use it for a missile range and things of that nature. It's a large patch of land, but this patch of land is like a postage stamp. So I'm like, okay, we got to go down there because that doesn't make any sense. So we walk down to the river's edge and you hear knock, knock, whoop, whoop. And then within a minute, you hear a loud scream, like a woman screaming from that patch of land. And I have my therm out. We're catching nothing on the therm, but by God, we heard two whoops, two knocks, and a scream come from that land.
So okay,
And
so let's break it down for the people at home. I haven't done I haven't done this before with people, but I'm all in the investigative mode with you right now. So you approached, let's
mhm,
say, they are now aware of your presence and they're communicating to each other with
correct.
the knocks and the wolves.
Yes, those are communication tactics used saying there's humans, there's somebody. They're warning the others, we've got somebody coming in. There's me and a gentleman walking down this path to the river's edge. They saw us because I have a red headlamp on, and of course, they can see us and hear us. They knew exactly what we were and where we were positioned. They notified, and as soon as that scream happened, nothing else. It was silent across there.
Was the scream for you then? So you've got the knock knocks and the woof woofs. They're communicating to each other that there's now a human presence in that area,
Mhm.
and you think the scream was directed at you, saying
Oh,
keep
yeah.
the
Yeah.
f out. You know.
It was like, because we started going down the river's edge. So we were in about ankle deep of water, moving down parallel to the other patch of land. And then that's when the scream happened, like, don't come any further.
Wow.
And we just stood there and we just waited. We literally waited for a good 30 minutes. Nothing else happened. And
Mm,
you can't even cross that river if you tried. It was polluted with alligators. We were
no,
shining
thank you.
lights and all you saw were eyeballs staring at us in the water.
Mm. I
And
can't
I'm
imagine.
like,
Okay, without due respect, I can't imagine that. Here in Michigan, okay, you got to watch out for the occasional rattlesnake. There's rumors of black sightings of a black bear or a cougar here and there.
mhm.
Polluted with alligators? No,
Oh,
thank you. I'm heading back to
yeah.
Michigan.
Yeah, it was insane. And it was because where we were, it was all just water. Across the way were all the lily pads and everything which they could take cover in. They were all over there, and all you see are eyeballs and more eyeballs. They're like, and you saw them blink, and you're like, okay,
I'm good. I'm good. No, I don't want to go kayaking in that river where the gator's
no,
bigger than my kayak.
no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. They don't like that. Yeah, so
All
they
right,
were
what else?
so We
I'm freaking out. I can't handle gators, man.
Yeah, that's what happens. So I'll tell you a little bit more paranormal stuff. So we were very blessed to get a permit and permission to go into Cades Cove at night after hours. And so Greg and I and Paranormal 411, along with a guide, went in and investigated the Primitive Baptist Church. So it was such a cool event, and we had a Paranormal 411 had a ghost box and other things that they had mapped out. And so I had my backpack and I laid it down on one of the pews inside the church. So I had been there prior, and I had said, I was talking to you a few months ago. Do you remember me? And they said yes, over the ghost box. But that was it. That's the only time that they talked. Every other question that we asked, it was radio silent. Okay. So we're like, you know what? There's a graveyard behind the church. We're going to go out in the graveyard. We have another apparatus that we could go out and look for ghosts. So we're just going to go out there, see what we find. We get out of the church and around, and we hear inside the church over the ghost box 2 men talking.
Hmm.
They thought we left.
Whoa.
So they started talking back and forth, and we're like, what are they saying? So we go back in, they stop. And we're like, okay, you know what? Let's just let them have their fun. Let them talk. We're recording. We'll find out later. So we go out. We start to hear them talk again. We're like, okay, just let them go. We get into the graveyard, and then we hear something so odd coming from the church. It sounds like loud footsteps, but not stopping. Like boom, boom, boom. We're like, we're going to go check that out. We're having everything run. We're going to go check it out. So then over the as we're going down, we see what appears over their equipment, 2 small ghosts. Where our guide hops over the little fence and looks, and there's graves of 2 children. And they were
Oh
hanging
my.
out there. So sad. I was just like, oh God, that's
Oh
horrible.
my good. Yeah, that's
And
heavy.
so we keep walking, and they're checking it out. So I decide to walk ahead. I have no flashlight, nothing. The only light is from their equipment behind me. So I'm holding on to the chain that's separating, like the little barrier. And I'm walking, and I can see the tops of the trees. I can make some things out, and I hear from the graveyard, hey. And I look over, and there's nobody there. And I said, hello? And they said something, and I can't make it out, but they had a recorder going. I'm hoping they heard something. And so we're kind of sitting there, and then all of a sudden a storm comes rolling in. So I'm like, okay, let's go back inside. So we go back inside, and then keep hearing the same sound, the boom, 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 boom. And we go inside, and we're like, what is that? And it's coming from the ghost box. Evidently, they didn't like the ghost box. They took the cord that was plugged into the battery out, pushed the battery out, and knocked my backpack over. They weren't having it. So
Holy
after
crap.
listening to what happened earlier, there were 2 men talking over the ghost box. We came in, they stopped, we came back out, we heard somebody else. It was a female voice, and you could tell she was very stern. Like, she was no joke. She wasn't having us being there. She didn't like us being there. And so she was like, took the cord out, pushed it, knocked my backpack over, and it was like, that's your message. I was like,
Wow.
"Whoo, Lord." So
Mhm.
it was really a very unique and cool experience. Really
Out of,
unique.
without a doubt. One of my enlightening moments, along with the fairy, the hooded creature, the deal with the devil, um, was when I felt I asked a question to God. And God is always so polite to me because
Mm.
sometimes I'm just a dope. Um, and it's like I have a serious side, and then I have this airhead side. I get it from my mother. Uh, but there's this moment where I had this airhead question to the Lord, and he answered me in a way which just totally made me wake up. And I was like, okay, God, what is it with all this Bigfoot and Dogman and paranormal cryptid stuff? That's how simple the question was.
Uh-huh.
And, everybody's got to discern at home whether or not they believe that God talks to individuals, whatever. Well,
Mhm.
I believe I have a long-standing relationship with God, and sometimes, once in a great while, he'll throw me a bone. And I felt, and no, it's not an audible voice. You hear it in your spirit.
Mhm.
And all he said to me was, go look up how many different types of insects there are. Well, from childhood, I know about ants, I know about grasshoppers, I know about butterflies and moth and bees, and that's the top 10, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah.
I had no idea. When I punched into Google, how many different types of insects there are, everything that came up basically calculated to anywhere between 900,000 and 3 million different types of insects.
Mhm.
And I knew right then and there, he's like, Brian, there is so much more to the paranormal, cryptid, dogman,
Yeah.
Sasquatch, creature from the Black Lagoon, Mothman. There is so much more than you
Yes.
could ever imagine and even understand. What are your thoughts on all that?
Oh, absolutely. There is so much that we don't even know. And how much of our land do we normally observe? There are places in Canada that people don't go ever.
Mm,
There are places in the United States that people don't go ever because it's
mm.
so mountainous. You can't get through it. Or it's the Everglades and there's swamps and there's alligators and crocodiles and God only knows what else down there. So there are places that these creatures can hide and live and thrive and have a food source and water source and shelter. And they can just live and not see a human their entire life if you go to the
Wow.
certain place. So there's a lot of things that we take for granted. Like, you know, if you look at the United States, yeah, there are some heavily populated area, but go to the Midwest and beyond to the Rockies. How much land is still vacant and open that we haven't, that people don't even go into on a regular basis?
Oh,
And,
sure. We're busy. We're busy taking our kids to soccer. We're busy, and this
yeah,
is not a dig. This is just the way we have to live life. We have to wake up.
right.
We have to go to work, provide for
Yeah.
our families, take our kids to their soccer games.
Hmm.
And we're looking at our phone half the time.
Absolutely.
So our world is so small in
Very
comparison to
small.
the real world all around us.
You know, how many times are we looking at our phone and not looking up to the sky, not looking in front of us? There could be a UFO right ahead above us, and we're too busy looking at TikTok videos.
Oh,
We
bingo,
don't
bingo.
know.
I've got a huge Thunderbird sighting here in Michigan, along with multiple pterodactyl sightings. And this
Hmm.
just all goes back. And then I'm looking at this book, and my people who watch me know I bring it up a lot. But then, what are your thoughts on Hollywood? Here we've got the creature from the Black Lagoon. We have
Hmm.
all these horror stories. I've talked about how recently I just heard that Steven Spielberg had a briefing from the CIA, and out of that briefing from the CIA, he made two movies, Close Encounters of the
Right.
Third Kind and E.T. And
Yeah.
the catch is, in real life from the CIA briefing, E.T.'s friendly little finger would actually boil you to death, disintegrate you to death, where Steven Spielberg made it a healing device. So it's
Right.
like, okay, our government does know about all this.
Of course they
And
do.
they're, oh, yeah.
Absolutely. They have been studying and following these for decades. And of course, they want to hide everything, just like they tried to hide the UFOs. And then they release those documents, like, yeah, they're here. They've been here. We've got documentation. Now, just imagine how many other files do they have
Mm,
that they've been hiding and they're keeping under wraps because they don't want us to know. They're
hmm.
every time that you see a tiny little patch of land out of nowhere that's owned by the government that you can't go on, why is that? Hmm.
Wow.
That makes you wonder because so many times you hear about, there a nest was found, a Bigfoot nest was found, then all of a sudden, oh, it's now government property. You can't go on there. That
Oh yeah,
happens
gee,
more
I had
often
a
than
D
not.
yeah, I had a DNR guy tell a friend of mine who's Val Savala, retired detective, retired private investigator, that basically, hey, a lot of times when we say there's a black bear sighting and we close down a park so people don't interrupt the black bear, it's actually
Hmm.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't want people to go near it. They want to preserve it. They want to protect it because it's from the government. They're like, you have to protect this. You have to
And
protect the
then
species.
and then that brings in the question, okay, how many of these are natural creatures that
Hmm.
have just kind of played out over time, and then how many have been toyed with the government, how many are
Yeah,
experiments? Is the
and
dog,
that's
we've heard that question, dogman an
absolutely.
experiment?
Yeah, absolutely. Mothman, another experiment. Mothman found in West Virginia. There were military experimental facilities all around there. God only knows what happened. And they're all abandoned now. They're overgrown.
Oh my. So then that, going back to the Hollywood narrative, you
Hmm.
watch movies back in the day, like what is it, Island of Dr. Moreau?
Yes.
Where they're doing all these, oh my gosh. So
Yes.
they're
I forgot about that movie. Goodness.
yeah, so that starts ringing bells about hybrids
Hmm.
and basically mutants where they're combining different animals together into one
Yep.
creature. Oh my
Oh,
Lord.
yeah. And I mean, this is all based on a lot of truth. And you think, oh, that's science fiction. No, there's some truth in this. Now, the storyline could be fiction, but then you have these experiments done, or the aliens, or certain things. There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, so okay, so now you got my wheels turning in my brain. So we've kind of got the natural born, right, natural creatures of the earth. Then
Hmm.
you've got the ghost type entities, and then you've got aliens. It's almost, well, there's three classifications right there. And then
Right.
you break down all the subspecies or different breeds, like we have of dogs, I always say, all the different in between creatures. What are
Yes.
your thoughts on aliens off the top of your head? Because I've never, it's weird because I've had the ghost encounters, and I've had the fairy encounters, I've had the Bigfoot encounters. I have never had what I would call an alien encounter. What are your thoughts on all that?
I've never had an alien encounter, but I've seen a UFO.
Really?
I
What happened
was
there?
So I was at a friend's house back home. We were in middle school, and we decided it was summertime. We're going to sleep out on the back deck. And so we had our sleeping bags and we're just out there and we're talking, you're doing whatever. And we see something up in the sky and it didn't look like a plane. It didn't look, and it was very silent. And it was just, just going along. And it stopped. We're like, what is that? And then all of a sudden it just shot as fast. And we're like, did you see that? She goes, oh my God, I saw that. She goes, we both saw that. Like, did we just see this? And we were in total disbelief. They're like, a plane can't do that. A satellite can't do that. That was far too low. And so that's my first encounter and only encounter with a UFO.
Holy crap, which I'm see if I can hold on, let me reach for it. One of the things I want to start digging into, and then maybe have an episode, we're together on the NCI show. Um,
Yeah.
I want to start digging into aliens, and are there
Mm,
bases in the hollow earth? Do Bigfoot come from deep inside the earth, or do they just
hmm.
live in caves? But this hollow earth, Admiral Byrd, traveling to the Antarctica and up to the Arctic Circle up north, and then having that encounter with what, the king of the world or something,
Yeah.
alien type entity proclaimed itself. So yeah, I want to start digging into all of that
Yeah.
more. Yeah, and this one speaks about the connection with the Nazis and why they wanted their bloodline to be pure, They were fed a narrative from these fallen beings, whatever you want to think they are.
Mhm.
I tend to think, and nobody knows the answer. Um,
No.
I I tend to believe. Well, I've got this other book here too. I'm digging into Earth's earliest ages. Um,
Mm.
that there was an age of Earth before these present ages of man, that there was an age on earth that was run by the angels, so to speak.
Mm.
And that they had that started the falling out with God. And then that, you know, gosh, that opens up all these
Yeah.
different types of entities spawned by the fallen angels, and then who knows what. And it could be millions of years, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day. Is we've been kind of cheated here in America with the westernized religion, which teaches you about this much.
Correct. Very, very minuscule amounts that we know.
Yeah. And then if you speak about the other side of things, oh, you're crazy and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And that's fine. Look, if you're one of those people that doesn't want to dig into all this stuff, for
Yeah.
me, I want to have the knowledge. I want my boys to know. I want,
Yeah.
hey, oh, you're going out in the woods. Hey, just be careful.
Yeah.
There's cougars
Yeah.
out there, there's bears out there, and there might be a dog man.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just to be mindful and understand that there could be other things out there. Now, even though people have not seen certain things, you haven't been in the right places, or you
Bingo.
haven't, if you're in a city all the time, or if you're in a house or staring at your phone, you're not going to see the world around you. And
Bingo.
have the opportunity to get out into nature, take first step and just go into nature and just be like, you know what, I'm going to take a hike, I'm going to go for a walk in a national forest, I'm going to go over here. What is it? What am I experiencing? Let's go for a little night walk in the forest. I last year I did something that I did an experiment myself. I wanted to go and camp in the Everglades by myself to see what I could
Whoa.
lure in. And so the Skunk Ape headquarters, in just south of Alligator Alley, has a big park area behind it. It's all
Okay.
swamp, and then there's some peppered little areas that you can camp. So I said, okay, it's slow season. It was me, and there was a couple far, far away. I could see their fire. It was tiny in the distance, way far away. So I wanted to make sure I was there all day to show whatever it was. I was alone. I'm not going to harm anybody. I have good intentions. I walked around, I sang a little bit, just, did whatever, kind of relaxed. And then at night, I went to sleep and going, okay, I'm going to see what I can observe. 1:30 in the morning, I hear a chirp, a bird chirp, one chirp. And I'm going, that's not normal. And about 3 minutes later, very large footsteps right beside my tent. And then I heard what sounded like a small child, like almost like a toddler, trying to talk. And I'm trying to be as still as I can, and come to find out it was a male Florida panther in heat that saw me alone. And I joke. I said it saw a cougar in a tent and was like, "Hey, girl," but I laugh about it. But at the time, I was just like, "Oh, because I brought a large knife. I brought bear spray. I knew I could handle it, but it was the fact of this panther walked right up to my tent." And to know that there are certain things when you're out there investigating, you definitely want to just not assume what you think it is. You need to investigate. You need to talk to people, talk to the locals, talk to everybody around you, and then observe. And so, yeah,
Mm.
it was a male panther. Now, I went again a month later, but there were more people around. And in the middle of the night, I was woken up to owls. Now, quite often, you hear Bigfoot and owls, that there's a correlation. You hear an owl, is that really an owl? So I
Yep.
started hearing these owls in the distance. And then I heard from one end of the swamp, and I mean, it was in the swamp. Nobody's going to go out in the middle of the swamp with alligators at in the middle of the night.
Mm.
And you hear this high pitched, and I'm not going to do it because I have a sore throat a little bit, but it was like, woohoo!
Mm.
And then another one on the other side did it.
Oh
And they
my
start going
gosh.
back and forth, talking, almost like, "Do you see all these people here? Like, this is just a warning. Hey, there's people." Because it was during the alligator wrestling festival, and that happened earlier that evening. We went out squatching and saw a tree structure in the middle of the swamp that I don't e there was no rhyme or reason why this was happening. There was a huge log teetering and balanced on another log.
Oh
And
my gosh.
it had to be 20 feet long. And I'm like, okay, that was ripped out. It wasn't like it was just fell over. No, it was taken apart. Part of the wood was like ripped apart to make a point, and it was stuck there. And I'm going, that I'm like, there's no reason for that. That had to
Yeah.
be. That was not, and there are not humans going out there. You know, we're in muck and swamp, and there are alligator slides, you know, off to the distance going into the bigger pond, and we're looking out for each other going, okay, if you see this, you know, we got a bat, we got this, I got my bear spray, you know, whatever we got, we'll beat them off.
Right, right.
But they didn't bother us at all. They stayed away from us.
They are definitely the alpha. I think when it comes down
Oh
to it,
yeah.
and I'm learning as I go. All in all, Bigfoot is the alpha. Sasquatch, the
Oh
Sabe, they are
yeah.
the alpha. Now we've heard of some big dog men out there, but I think the Bigfoot outnumber them.
Hmm.
Um, gosh, but yeah, that's the alpha. They're not even afraid of how many gators are around them.
No, no, because they can just take a gator and just snap, you know, rip it apart. And those gators know it.
And I wouldn't doubt they eat them. I hear gator
Oh
meat is
yeah.
pretty good. Is that
It
true?
is. It's very tasty. It tastes like it would taste like chicken. It does. It tastes like chicken. You have gator
Awesome.
tail. They serve gator tail down here.
All right, I got to try some of that. That'll make me feel better if
Yeah.
ever around gators. My goodness. Well,
Yeah.
Natalie, anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, what do you have any questions for me? I mean, I've been talking for an hour.
Oh no, I love it. This is your episode. I felt like I talked too much,
No.
and yeah, just getting to know you more is wonderful. I did want to ask. So you're with Greg Ogles, and I'm getting
Yeah.
to know Greg as well.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
officially talked to you more than I've talked to him, but he knows, and so you might be able to help me to give me a better description of the land between the lakes. And he
Yes.
did a film down there, and I'm sure I'm
Yes,
going to
he
interview
did.
him too at some time.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on all that, and what's the activity of the Kentucky, I think it is, land between the
Mhm.
lakes? What do you know about that?
So, his film, Land Between the Lakes, it was, and I've watched it. It's phenomenal. By the
Cool.
end, you want more. You're
Okay.
wanting more when that movie ends, you're like, "Oh, I want more." That's why we're filming again, because it's
Awesome.
so jam-packed. It's like whoever's watching it, please go and find it. It is worth the purchase. It is phenomenal. And I was at the edge of my seat, and I'm going like this, like, "I can't believe it ended. I need more." The activity in that area, it is almost like the perfect environment. It is this massive piece of land, mostly surrounded by water. Now,
Oh, so it's kind of like an
mind you,
island then,
it's almost
almost, or
like a
peninsula.
huge peninsula island, and it's massive. And so people will go there to camp on the outer edges where the water is. Nobody goes internal. Nobody goes in these rustic areas where there's no bathroom, no electricity, no nothing. So
Gotcha.
we are looking at the whole area of what does it hold. Now, mind you, it would take months to go over everything in that area. It would take months. We don't have months, but we have a week to go out and really do experiments, night investigation, day investigations. What's happening up here? What's happening over there? Why is all this activity in this central area? In my opinion, it's because it's the perfect environment. Nobody's going to
Okay.
want to go in this area in the middle because it's a little scary. There's a lot of wildlife. There's not a lot for, if you're going with your kids, what kid wants to go to a rustic campsite or even go rustic camping with nothing around? They're going to be bored
Right.
out of their minds. No internet, no phones, no
Right,
nothing.
right.
Nobody's going to want to go. So this is why these creatures are there, because it's the perfect environment.
Fantastic. All right, Natalie, we got to wrap it up. Why don't you tell the folks at home? I kind of did a hack job in the beginning, but you can reiterate all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, tell people where they can get a hold of you, all your
Yeah.
social media sites. Go ahead.
Absolutely. It's under Natalie Smearman. I am on Facebook and Instagram. You can also see me every Tuesday night co-hosting with Paranormal Paul on Paranormal Among Us. You can also find me on Channel 12 TV network every Thursday night on the NCI podcast. And I'm on various podcasts peppered being interviewed. I also will filming with Relic Films. We just filmed The Vanished. That's a very dark film that you'll definitely want to check out. There's going to be some exciting stuff in there. It's being released in January. I will be filming multiple things with Relic Films, and I'm going to be filming a couple of things with Enigma 911. You can also find me at next month at Crossing Realms. I will be at that conference in Richmond, Missouri. I will be at Charlie's Beyond Belief Expo in October in Fort Myers. And so, yeah, reach out to me, say hello. If you see me, definitely walk up, say hi. I think I got it all.
Fantastic. Awesome. Great job. Okay, Natalie, thank you so much for being on the show. You are episode 33. I'm going to go ahead
Awesome.
and put you backstage, and I'll be there in a minute.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, everybody. That is Natalie Smearman. Man, check her out. She is busy, busy, and she is bringing quality content, quality information about this crazy paranormal cryptid world that we are learning so much about. So, all of you at home, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. Once again, I'm your host, Bryan Sawyer, and we will see you next time.